Welcome to Releasing Trauma, a Survivor's Podcast. I am your host, Tracy Osborne. I am a survivor of emotional bullying, rape, sexual assault, domestic abuse, and grief. After losing my husband in 2019, I set off on a new adventure to help other women release their trauma and create a life they can cherish. Each week, I will feature a guest expert or survivor to share their stories, tips, wisdom, and more. The goal is so that you can take away even just the smallest nugget of information you can use in your life right now to make a change, and to remind you that you're not alone. There is life after trauma, and you can move from victim to thriver and create a life you can cherish. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Releasing Trauma. With me today is Bernadette Bruckner, and we are going to be talking about how to disrupt your trauma. But before we do that, first, welcome to the show, Bernadette.
Welcome from Austria.
Oh, wow.
The country with the apple strudel.
Strudel. Oh, I love strudel. Oh, well, thank you so much for joining us from over there. That's quite the distance. But let's hear about you. Tell us about who you are and a little bit about your backstory.
Mm-hmm. I'm coming from a bakery from the countryside. That's why I can truly make an apple strudel really good. And I was working a lot as child, and we had in our bakery also had a cafe, and there were we had guests there with alcoholic problems and old people who were truly mean. So I grew up actually very tough, and as child, it's just the way it is. You never think about it, but we got a lot of beliefs, different thinking, different thoughts about who we are, who we should be. And later on, I got to companies where also were very rough environment, and they cracked me. That's what I always say. It's like I'm actually an introvert person and a very high sensitive person, but I didn't know back then. So I grew up very tough, and I still today I can be a very tough person if I have to. And yet I got my first burnout with, I always have to count it, with approximately, I think it was 21, 22. And I became highly suicide when I was working abroad, building up subsidiaries and also international sales in France, in Germany, in Sweden, and in Dublin. And I was working because this is something what I truly learned since childhood. And it was just too much. It was just way too much, because I got so many weird beliefs about who I should be as woman, who I should be as Austrian, who I shouldn't be as Austrian, who I shouldn't be as woman. And this just was a little bit too much. And after my first burnout, and it was actually parallel where my mom had a burnout in Austria. So yes, we children overtake a lot of stuff. And I went back to Austria, took care of my mom, took care of my family. And I actually never looked at it. I worked on my burnouts and everything, but I never went to a therapist. But I did further education about who we are, about how we function, about psychology, and everything else, to begin to understand me and why I came that far, nearly killing myself back then in France with 21, 22. And as more as I did further education, I found out that everything what other people are telling you who you are is kind of a reflection and belief they actually got also from others. And I needed 3 burnouts because 1 burnout was not enough for me. I had a totally speedy living. I was traveling a lot. I had a party and working and did tons of stuff for the education. And also in my spare time, I also created health projects, supporting also other ones with my business knowledge. And I didn't have time to have, thinking about burnout and everything else. And yet I need the third one. And afterwards, 2015, a car accident, a really bad one, and also a broken colon, to just stop and take a time out. My body said to myself, nope, lady, you are not going further this way anymore with me. Sorry. And I had a really long sabbatical. Even when I never stopped, doing my stuff and everything else every single day. Even when my colon was totally broken, I didn't have so much energy anymore. I did every single day a little sport. I did further education also in nutrition and NLP, coachings and everything else, only to create myself, my own nutrition style and also my own coaching therapy style, where I today support others beginning to listen to their body again. And also how you function, and also how you crack your subconsciousness to disrupt experience which was not healthy for you, and understand it. Because most of the time when you experience something bad or experience something, your brain and it's you create pictures or you create images inside what you get outside, all the influences. And when it's get connected with emotions, your brain can remember it. If you don't connect it with emotions, you cannot build up the memory again. This is something what I learned from neuroscience and also neuroplasticity. And this was really interesting for me. The same with my colon and with my food challenges, because I have to live lactose-free and also gluten-free. And I became more and more vegan. Today I'm eating again a little bit meat and fish, only because of lack of vitamin B12 actually.
Mhm.
And this is so interesting for me, as more as I cracking my subconsciousness, as more this is truly a journey to find myself and get everything disrupt what I got conditioned and learned since childhood from others, also from school, from university. Even when I love going to the university, making my PhD in the field of health framing, because I found out for myself, as more as I understand myself, as more as I can change it. A lot of from the scientific point, this is the blind spot from the Johari window. It's a concept, it's a model, a theory. And also I use also the theory of Sigmund Freud, the iceberg model, cracking the 90 to 95% of the subconsciousness. And I did more than 10 years of research with different people, and also on myself being, I always say I'm my best guinea pig because I try first everything out of myself till I find simple solutions, what is possible to implement in your daily living, and on body level, soul level, and also on the mental level. And it's truly interesting. It's my journey actually to understand myself better, and how it came that far that I nearly killed myself 20 years ago. So I'm building up in forms of online courses, books, and everything else what I actually needed 20 years ago.
Wow, that is quite a journey.
Yes. The
Quite
only
the
thing
journey.
what I always say, I'm still alive because the car accident was so weird, truly weird, because I'm a really good driver. That I said myself, okay, I survived, I think the fourth or the fifth time, and it has a reason. So it's more than ever time for me. This was like the wake up call, the last one, because one was not enough for me. This was a slap from the universe telling me, lady, you're not going this way, you're going the other way. You truly should go out with your stuff and everything else. Since then, I'm working more than ever. Since COVID-19, I'm actually working more than ever, overcoming my being an introvert, and truly go to podcast and TV and everything else, only supporting as many as possible, that there's always a solution out there. Um, and as more as you listen to yourself, as more as you understand yourself, you can disrupt everything what you ever heard and learned from others.
So I was just about to ask you how we do that, because it's been ingrained in us oftentimes since birth.
Mm-hmm.
How do we even go about first finding out what that is that we need to disrupt?
I ask so many people, who are you without your filters you got conditioned and trained since childhood? Because if you take the concept of Jean Piaget, he was a development scientist. We learned that the first 5 to 7 years, we cannot separate who we are and who are the other ones. So they are actually in the we, what many grown-ups want to be again, being aligned with the universe, with all the other ones. And it always depends on what you believe and think of is right. But children cannot distinguish. And this is so, everything what you learn, everything what you hear, positive as negative, they take it as granted and take it as themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody of us knows, or many of us know the feeling when someone is in pain, we want to, as children, want to take away the pain. And we just want to have fun as child and have a good time and being loved, being cared. And yet life sometimes treated us differently. And this creates for us a picture or a frame of how the world is function and what is actually real. And yet they are only concepts from others who are telling us what's real. So it always depends who is influencing us. It's religion, it's the country, it's the mentality, it's the environment where you grow up. Also the media, of course, more than ever, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't want, this year I become 45. So I always say I'm an old person, old generation. And we, for example, didn't have internet when I was a child. And I
Right.
even was talking today with another person, and I don't want to say it was just easier for us because we didn't have so many decisions, so many freedoms, so many influences than the children have today. And this is, but it was just different. I grew up in a country where slapping was, social, and also it always depends how you define education for yourself, and how you grew up. This is something, there are concepts what we actually learn from our ancestors, from our parents, grandparents, and everybody who is influencing us on the way of our when we grow up. And I want to invite everybody, just write down for yourself concepts or beliefs or values you got from your parents, grandparents, also teachers, or people who truly influenced you in your way of growing up. And most of the hurdles, most of the challenges, what we have today, actually originate from the childhood. But most of the time, they are so in your subconsciousness, hidden as belief, as value, as kind of I don't know, whatever is also in our world, what we believe is just real, and just write it down and ask yourself: are there any challenges today out there who are similar to something what I experienced as child? And most of the people know it. I even have it today because I give trainings at the moment to jobless people, and we're talking a lot about beliefs and values and everything like this one, and also with women about how value am I if I have,
Mm-hmm.
for example, more weight on, or if I don't look like a supermodel or something like that. And we just compare each other for nothing. For me, it was always the biggest and the nicest journey to discover myself, my gifts and my challenges, and where they come from, only to heal them through. And as I said before, most memories, what we have, or what we build up, is actually connected with emotions, connected with bad emotions. And we can disrupt that. If you understand where the origin comes from, where you build up this memory, where you build up the connection from the emotion to the memory, you can ask yourself, do I still need this challenge or this memory with this emotion or not? And is there something in there what I might can learn was something what I needed back then as child that I remember now differently? So I truly see, and I'm working with many people, when there's a challenge in there, there's a learning in there.
Mm-hmm.
If we understand the learning, something maybe what we needed back then, so that we didn't have to create a bad memory with a bad emotion, we can heal it through. And this disruption is, for me, truly being critical to yourself. Where does this emotion, this memory come from? Is it mine, or is it just overtaken from other people? And is it still useful or not? If it's not useful, why should I keep a bad memory of something what is already past?
Right. Wow. Thank you so much, Bernadette. This has been really interesting listening to you talk about this. It's true that I think most of our memories, or not our memories, but most of our concept of who we are and how we were, it depends on how we were raised, but it also stems down from our from generations. We're heavily influenced by the media.
Yes.
And so asking ourselves, where did this come from? Is this something that I truly believe? Is this something that I still need? I think those are very, very important questions to ask ourselves.
I don't know how it is in your country, but with COVID-19, and actually also before, of course, the topic about, in Austria, the topic about Nazi, about what happened in our history in the German countries, is more than ever actual. Current is the English, the better word for it. And I even see it with my parents. My father is a war child. He experienced the war. And my mom is a post-war child. And yet a lot of topics, what happened back then with her and with my father and with my grandparents who are not alive anymore, and also their grandparents, these topics are still in our system. And because they get values, they overtake it from the parents, they overtake it from their parents, they overtake it, and. So we are actually carrying beliefs and values from our ancestors.
Right.
Now we can discuss, is it 7 years? Because some concepts say it's 7 years, some say it's 7 generations. The other ones also say more than 7 generations, and because it's a subconscious. And also we when I saw it truly with my nieces and with my nephew, that we subconscious give them concepts what they are so subconscious that it's just automatically.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I caught myself and no, this is not a good idea what I'm saying now to my niece and my nephew, and I have to change it. Because according to that iceberg model of Sigmund Freud, there are 5 to 10% conscious, what we are conscious, and the rest is subconscious. But the subconscious is actually guiding us. Sometimes we say this is our intuition. That's what we send and everything. And yet look very critical where the values, what you're carrying and what you're actually talking and showing every single day in your actions are coming from. And a lot of people, I even teaching active listening, because when I listen, that's something what I truly learned in the bakery as child. I was sitting next to our customers in our cafe, and I was just listening, because there were so interesting stories in there. Sad stories, but interesting stories as well. And when I listen today as coach, as person who's supporting others, I sometimes ask my clients, do you actually listen to yourself, what you said at the moment, to yourself? Our self-talk is sometimes so bad.
Oh, yes.
And we are not even conscious it. This is something what we truly have to disrupt. I even see it with my students at the moment. I always say to them, because I'm also training them standing in front of camera and also do pitches and all the things and presentations. And when I listen to them, I always say, guys, I never have to talk bad about yourself, because you do it on your own every single time. And I said to them, listen to yourself, what you're saying at the moment. We talk, I'm sure that every single person who is we talk so bad about ourselves with our self-talk every single day.
Yes.
Begin to listen to yourself, what you're actually telling yourself every single day. Maybe when you stand in front of your mirror, oh my God, I'm so fat, I have to lose weight, for whatever and for whomever, I don't know, but yes, just do it. And I'm like, I truly say every single day to my students, and I have them 4 days per week, I don't have to say something bad about you, because you make yourself bad. Listen what you're saying to yourself. Disrupt it. I think this is the first biggest step of self-caring and self-loving towards yourself. Stop your self-talk, your crappy self-talk. Begin to talk nice to yourself.
I love it. And I can't agree more. I think that is the perfect note to wrap this up and end the show on, is to just be nice to yourself.
Yes.
Absolutely. Bernadette, thank you so much for coming on. I really, truly appreciate it. This has been wonderful.
Thank you very much for having me. And wonderful day from Austria.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. As you know, I will have all of Bernadette's information in the show notes. Just head over to releasingtraumapodcast.com, pull up her show, and all her contact information will be there. So thank you again for listening, and we'll talk to you on the next show.